It's 35,000 years ago. You are inside a cave in what will one day be southern Germany. The fire is burning low. 8 people are sitting around it in the dark. Your family, your aunts, the man who taught you to track elk, the children who haven't slept yet. The sun went down hours ago. Outside, the temperature is below freezing. You should be tired. You should be conserving energy for tomorrow's hunt. Instead, the oldest woman in the group raises a small hollow bone to her lips, a vulture wing drilled with 5 small holes, and begins to play. The notes that come out of the bone are the first music you have ever heard, because the bone was carved last week, and every single person around the fire stops what they are doing and listens. What did ancient humans do for fun? And why does the way you wind down at the end of a long day, the scroll, the show, the game on your phone, go back so much further than you have ever stopped to think about? This is one of the most underrated questions in human history, because when most people picture ancient humans, they picture grim creatures with one job: survive, hunt, gather, sleep, repeat. The archaeology says otherwise. The deeper into our past we look, the more we find people doing the same things you do at the end of a workday: playing music, throwing dice, wrestling, kicking a ball, drawing each other for laughs, dancing in the dark. Making fun was not a side effect of civilization. It was something we did before farming, before cities, before language was written down, possibly before we were even fully human. In 2008, an archaeologist named Nicholas Connard was excavating a cave called Hohle Fels in southwestern Germany when he pulled 5 fragments of carved bone out of the dirt. When he pieced them together, he was holding a flute. It had been carved from the wing bone of a griffin vulture. 5 finger holes, a mouthpiece notched at one end, the surface smoothed and polished by a craftsman who had worked it for hours. It was 42,000 years old. Other flutes, made of mammoth ivory, of swan bone, of cave bear femur, turned up in the same valley. They are the oldest musical instruments anybody has ever found. Not the oldest tools, not the oldest weapons, just the oldest objects we ever made that had no purpose at all except to make a beautiful sound. By the time our ancestors were carving flutes, they had not yet invented agriculture, not yet domesticated a single animal, not yet built a single permanent house. But they had already invented music. Roughly 37,000 years later, a Sumerian queen named Puabi was buried in the city of Ur with most of her household. Her tomb contained jewelry, silver cups, 26 servants who had been killed to follow her, and a small wooden board inlaid with shell and lapis lazuli, divided into 20 squares. Beside the board lay 7 black tokens, 7 white tokens, and a set of tetrahedral dice. It was a game. We now call it the Royal Game of Ur. It is the oldest board game ever recovered intact, and we know exactly how it was played because in 1880, a British museum scholar found the rulebook scratched onto a Babylonian clay tablet, 1,000 years younger than the board itself, but unmistakable. Puabi was buried with a game her great-grandmother had played. In Egypt, the same century, people were playing a similar game called Senet, and tomb paintings show families bent over the board in postures every modern board game player would recognize. 1,000 miles west, on a flat rock shelter in the Sahara, paintings from around 12,000 years ago show rows of figures with arms raised, knees bent, bodies twisted, dancing. The same scene appears in caves in southern India, in the Drakensberg Mountains of South Africa, in rock shelters all over Australia. People danced everywhere, for as long as we can see. 2,000 years ago in Mexico, the Olmec carved stone rings into the walls of every major city and played a ball game with a solid rubber ball, the oldest team sport in the world. In Egypt, the walls of a tomb at Beni Hasan, dating to around 2000 BC, contain 400 painted scenes of 2 wrestlers. Every grip, every hold, every throw, frozen forever in step-by-step instruction. By the time humans were writing things down, fun had already been around for so long that it had its own grammar. The first thing humans did for fun was make music. And music is older than almost everything else we did. Older than agriculture. Older than written language. Older than cities. There are anthropologists who think it is older than spoken language itself, that we sang before we spoke, that lullabies and warning calls and group humming were how our ancestors held themselves together long before they had words. Every human culture ever studied, every single one, has music. There is no exception. Music is not a side effect of culture. It is closer to a built-in feature of being human, like breathing through your nose. The second thing humans did for fun was play games of chance. The moment we figured out that a bone could be thrown and would land in a random orientation, we started gambling. Astragali, the small ankle bones of sheep, have been found in archaeological sites going back more than 6,000 years, polished smooth by thousands of throws. Dice in their modern cubic form appear in the Indus Valley around 2500 BC. The Romans had loaded dice. The Vikings had loaded dice. People have been cheating each other at randomness for as long as there has been randomness to cheat. The point of a dice game is not the prize. The point is the suspense of the throw, the half second of not knowing. That feeling is ancient. The third thing humans did for fun was play with their bodies. Wrestling appears in cave art, in tomb paintings everywhere. Foot races are recorded in every ancient civilization that left writing. The Olympic Games started in Greece in 776 BC, but they were already old. The events listed at the first games were sports the Greeks had inherited from somewhere even older. Ball games show up in Mesoamerica, in China, in Egypt, in Greece, independently in every shape. Kicked, thrown, hit with sticks, hit with hands. Children playing tag has been documented in every continent on Earth. Physical play is so universal that biologists now consider it one of the defining behaviors of any mammal capable of learning. But the engine underneath all of this was harder to name. Practice. Every animal that plays, kittens, wolf pups, dolphin calves, otters, ravens, plays at the things they will need to do when they grow up. Hunting, fighting, mating. The brain is wiring itself for adulthood in low-stakes form. Human play is unique only because we never stop. We invent music and games and stories and play them across our entire lifespan. We don't outgrow play because the brain we evolved was built to keep learning. The reason a Neanderthal carved a flute and the reason you open your phone in bed at midnight are the same biological reason. Your brain is built to seek novelty, simulate experience, and rehearse for situations that haven't happened yet. And then a few hundred years ago, something shifted. Before the Industrial Revolution, most fun was made by the people having it. You sang the song, you played the instrument, you threw the dice, you wrestled the other man, you danced with your neighbors. There were professional entertainers, but they were rare and expensive. Then the printing press arrived, then mass-produced books, then sheet music, then phonograph records, then radio, then film, then television, then the internet, then the algorithm. Fun stopped being something you made and started being something you bought. The first time a human paid to watch someone else play music was around the 1700s. The first time a human watched a stranger's life on a glowing rectangle for several hours straight was around 2010. Nothing about your urge to be entertained is new. The thing that's new is that somebody else is now making your entertainment for you. Today you scroll a small glass rectangle in bed and watch 50 seconds of a stranger dancing, then 50 seconds of another stranger telling a joke, then 50 seconds of a third stranger eating something delicious. You watch other people play games you will never play. You watch other people listen to music you will never make. You watch other people travel to places you will never go. The amount of entertainment in front of your face right now would have been unimaginable to a Sumerian queen with 26 dead servants and a single carved board game. And yet your brain reaches for it for the same reason hers reached for the dice. And here is the truth. The reason your free time feels precious. The reason a song can make you cry. The reason a game can ruin a relationship. The reason a story can keep you up all night. Because for 40,000 years, the only thing your ancestors did at the end of a long day was the same thing you do. They reached for something that had no purpose except to be enjoyed. The brain that opens your favorite app at night is the brain that watched the first flute being played around a fire. Fun is not an escape from being human. It might be the oldest piece of being human we have. We didn't invent fun. We just figured out how to sell it back to ourselves.